The very judgment itself reveals something about Jesus. Jesus himself will be revealed in judgment. Something about the person of the Son of God and the nature of the Son of God and the character of the Son of God on display through the retribution that he brings with him. And we know about that, don't we? Because we are the people who know Jesus. He's been revealed to us. Not with our physical eyes, but we have seen him with the eyes of faith. God, in his great grace, through the preaching of the gospel, opened our hearts, opened our spiritual eyes, unstopped our spiritually deaf ears. We, through the hearing of the word of God, perceive rightly, accurately, if we understand the scriptures rightly, accurately perceive who the Son of God is. We know that Jesus was the eternal Son of God, come from heaven to earth, took to himself a sinless human nature, so that in this one person you have someone who is truly human and truly divine. And we know that he came into the earth to save his people from their sins. He lived a sinless life, died a substitutional death on the cross, was buried, and 3 days later was raised from the dead bodily, has ascended into heaven, is our great high priest. He is our mediator between God and the redeemed, and he is coming again to usher in his kingdom and then eventually to usher in eternity, saving his people and judging their enemies, his enemies, the enemies of God, in that judgment. This is who Jesus is. We know this. We have seen this. We believe this. But this world doesn't see him. This world doesn't know him. This world doesn't love him. In fact, you know this, we're living in a world that has a whole host of manufactured Jesuses. They use the name Jesus, but dig into what they believe about their Jesus, and you'll quickly discover he is not the Jesus of the Bible. He's not the Jesus who really exists. And so for those who deny that he ever lived, or for those who would acknowledge that he lived, but they would say he was not the Son of God, or for those who would say that he represents one of many gods, or for those who would say, no, he is the one and only true Son of God, but here's how I conceive of this Jesus, a Jesus who, for example, would celebrate homosexuality or same-sex marriage or those sorts of things. You hear all of this in our culture. One day, at the revelation of Jesus Christ, in that retribution, no one will have any mistaken notion about who he is.